Today we are replacing the radiator in our 2003 Honda Pilot. If you were to look at the top of the radiator underneath here, it's actually leaking from the very top right here, and you can actually see it coming out. So to get started, we pulled the new radiator out. Big thanks to Everride. Really appreciate you dropping this off at my office. That was awesome. So to get things started here, we're going to go to the land down under. And right here, you can't really see it that well, but in here is the drain. So I'm going to go ahead and drain this right now. Okay, slight change of plans. I'm going to take this off down here just to get to the transmission lines that are here and here, and the drain is right there as well, so it'll make it a little easier. You just have to get a flat blade screwdriver and pop these open, and then this should come off of the car. But I'll go ahead and work on doing that right now. So we have the radiator drained. I'm going to take the cap off here. There's that, and I'll just set this up here. We basically have to do the same thing up here. These little guys, take your time. Some of them may give you a little bit of a headache, but ultimately, oh, you break one just like that. So real quick, we have this loose. I just wanted to show you, if you've never had to deal with one of these before, you have to get the center piece out, and then the secondary piece will pop right out. And then when you put them back in, you just got to reverse and put this in there. But now that those are all out, we have this loose. There we go. And taking a look inside here, a few things going on. These are our main mounts. I believe those are 10 mil. This is actually holding your condenser on the front here. And then there's two radiator fans on the back side here. So 10 millimeter extension and swivel. You don't necessarily need the swivel, but we have it and we're going to use it. And we're going to go ahead and just start pulling these apart real quick. These are the mounts that actually hold this in place, but obviously you got to get this out of the way to get the radiator up. So, all right, so we have a radiator, at least the top half is moving. Our condenser is moving too, so don't be moving the radiator too much. A few quick things you need to do here. The hood latch is obviously in the way, and short of bending this up out of the way, which is a bad idea, we're going to, there's another 10 millimeter right here. So this is loose, and what I had to do is I kind of pushed on it here to get the latch underneath, and fingers crossed that should give us just like literally just enough clearance to get the radiator straight up. So next step is there's a bunch of 10 millimeters right here, and I'll go ahead and start working on getting the fans completely unbolted from the radiator. And then I believe we're down to hoses and that one random thing that I forgot about. Then we can take the radiator out. If you're looking for the radiator fan bolts right here, there's one here, and there's one right down here. So it's kind of hard to see in here, but just kind of feel, and this one's actually kind of in the way of the, what looks like the power steering line here. Oh, no, sorry, that's the AC line. But so get the 10 millimeter on there and get those popped loose, but I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So both radiator fans are now loose, and we are going to start with the low-hanging fruit here, so to speak, and get the upper radiator hose. Ta-da! So it's kind of hard to see, but there's our lower radiator hose, and that's a spring-loaded clamp. So I'm going to go ahead and work that off there with the pliers right now. Okay, so there's our transmission line, and it has a spring-loaded clamp on it, just like the radiator hoses. I'm going to pull those right now, and then we'll work on getting the radiator out of here. So we have both the upper and lower radiator hose disconnected. We have the transmission lines disconnected. One more hose we have to pull right here. And let's go ahead and we're going to carefully work this out of here because it should come straight out, knowing that there might be something that holds it up. So we're going to do that right now. So time out real quick here. Second day of recording on the radiator install here. First day of fall, by the way. We struggled with, as you'll see in the video later, we struggled with getting the radiator out of here, and these fans are really making it a challenge to get it out and successfully and easily. We've since confirmed that we need to take this housing, the shroud, and this off so that the radiator fan shroud can actually get up out of here, just to make it easier for your transmission lines the drain valve and the lower radiator hose connection point. So all of that being said, I'm going to pull this off right now, and I'm showing you this earlier in the video because you're going to see a struggle later in the video getting this radiator out, and it's because of the shrouds and how tight this is down here. But let me pull this off. These are 4 10 millimeters, and we'll get this off of here, and we'll show you what's underneath. So 4 10 millimeters are out, and unless there's something connected under here, I've owned this car 7 years, and I've never seen this, so, ooh, neat. I've never actually seen that before. So this part here, I believe these are just, I'd call them plastic, like flat blade screws. And that one turned about 90 degrees-ish. That one turned about 90 degrees-ish. And I'm going to carefully do this. Again, I've never taken this off before ever. So that's off. And I'm hoping this thing was the issue, because I believe that's going to give us just enough room to get this fan out. Because those, as you'll see later in the video, your lower transmission lines and your drain valve and your lower radiator connection, there's a real bear to get around the bottom parts of these shrouds. But that being said, we'll go back right into the video here. Dare I say the words, this may actually come out, but let's slowly work on pulling this out of here. There's plenty of stuff under here that's going to slow you down. The bottom part here is, there's a whole bunch of little brackets and stuff, but take your time. The bottom radiator shroud is going to be your #1 challenge. Just have some patience. Don't do what I did, because I just broke this electrical wire connector off. You can see the ends right there. But you're battling a few things. Let me show you. These things, this is the transmission connectors. These are always a pain, but you have that in the way of the fan shroud. So you have both of those on there. Then you actually have the drain valve. The valve itself, if you put this in here, as I dump coolant all over the place, that actually is enough to keep the radiator from coming out. But so you're dealing with this, those two things, and this thing that I broke, so I'm gonna have to go buy that at the store. But once you get all of that out of the way, then you actually have your radiator out. All right, new radiator. So a few things I did here. These are obviously from the factory. I'm gonna leave those on until we get it in the car. I went ahead and put these on. Keep in mind, I don't know how well you can see it, but this one's kind of bent. That one's 90 degrees. This one's like 45 degrees. That one's 90 degrees. So make sure you put those on. It's a lot easier to do it here versus down there. And this little thingy, this little sensor I broke last night, oh, I'll just go get another one. This turned out to be about an $80 part from O'Reilly's. So don't break the wires on that, because you're going to spend some cash to replace it. It's actually an AC relay switch. When the temperature of the coolant gets too hot, this tells the air conditioning system to kick both fans on to cool the car down faster. So don't break that like I did. So we're about halfway down, and I think Honda honestly wanted this to be as fun as possible. I use the word fun facetiously, because the wiring for the radiator fans, the hood pop, the hood latch here, and other random things are in the way. So definitely take your time getting the new one in here. All right, so radiator's in. There's little feet on the bottom, that little cushion pads, and there's little posts that you want to get the radiators, but it is seated in there, so it is sitting where it needs to be. And I'm going to go ahead and say this radiator fan here is going to be your #1 challenge. Both getting the radiator in and out past those the transmission line and the lower coolant hose inlet port there, and then also that sensor that I broke. All of that is going to be, this will be your #1 headache area right here. All that to say, it's in, it's seated. The fan is actually almost perfectly lined up right now with the bolt holes. So I'm going to go ahead and reconnect the lower radiator hose and the transmission lines, and I'm going to plug that sensor in down there, and then slowly work the other coolant fan in here, and we'll show you that right now. All right, so progress update. We now have both fans in. Just some commentary here. These fans were a nightmare. I honestly would like to see the Honda repair manual on the step-by-step Honda tells people to pull these fans, and if you need to pull the fans for the radiator, because this is probably an hour job, but those fans probably made this a 3-hour job, to be honest. So if you attempt to tackle this yourself, be advised that you will struggle. I guarantee you'll struggle with the fans and the shrouds and getting the radiator out and the new radiator in. So all that being said, we are in a good spot now. We have all of our stuff. We're connecting back up, connecting the fans back together, looking for all those little plugs that I disconnected and then forgot about. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here hooking everything back up. All right, so update here. This is empty. We have poured it into the radiator. Fingers crossed, everything looking good. We have the upper, lower radiator hoses. We have the transmission lines hooked up. The overflow bottle is full. And looking at this now, I'm just going to shine the light in here. That is sitting, it's been sitting for a few minutes, so it's level, it's not like gone down. So I'm sure that when we start the engine, it will pull some of that into the engine. But we're going to go ahead and finish putting a lot of these pieces back on, and we'll be right back. But we're going to go ahead and put the rest of these on here right now. And just do this, and then pull this back a little bit so it lines up. There we go. And we're going to keep putting this back together right now. So no leaks. Awesome. No trans leaks that I can see, no coolant leaks. So we're going to go ahead and put this on, and these things are pretty easy to do. You just pop them in, push them, and click. So I'm going to work through these, but overall, I would say this is not for the faint of heart. This is a challenge. Those fans are probably one of the most difficult things I've dealt with in the last couple years on a car, and I would say attempt this with caution, but you can do it and you can save the money. And with that, if you like classic cars, if you like DIY repair, if you like tech, if you like Chargers and Chevelles and Mustangs and all the rest, Fresh Vintage is your channel. Please like and subscribe, and make sure you keep it between the ditches.